Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Today we're going to be talking about this financial tsunami that Benjamin Fulford says is coming. The headline of this article says, many signs point to imminent, bigger than Lehman financial tsunami. It's dated September 23rd, 2019. Again, Benjamin Fulford. But before we get into that, let me give you what the prophets say is coming. Refresh your memory on that. Now, you remember July the 10th of 2012, Pastor Shane Warren came and spoke at the Prophecy Club. He made a DVD, which, by the way, you can get at prophecyclub.com, or you can watch it instantly at watchprophecyclub.com. Just go there and just look up Pastor Shane Warren, W-A-R-R-E-N. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but you'll find it there. Anyway, he said several things, and it'll take me 2 or 3 minutes to read all of that, and I'm not going to read all of that, so I'm just going to refresh your memory just for the point I'm trying to make today. He said he saw a vision, and in this vision, a news reporter picked up a fistful of dollar bills and says, it's raining dollar bills. It's almost like they're worthless. They're worthless. It was raining worthless dollar bills. Then we skip down a couple of paragraphs, and he's talking about how the Middle East, India, Syria, Indonesia, Turkey, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Egypt, and Russia and China were all plotting to begin to sell oil with gold and gold with oil, to exchange gold for oil. Now, we know that China really needs oil right now, and we also know that Iran really needs to sell it. So all of this may be very close. What he said was these world leaders were discussing how to devalue the dollar of America by buying oil with another currency. One of them said America no longer backs their dollar with gold. The American dollar has no stability. All we have to do is stop selling oil in dollars and trade in gold, and the dollar will collapse. Now, let me get to the point. Then he said, I saw the church, here it is, listen carefully, I saw the church arise with healing in their wings for this moment. I saw God prospering greatly, many acquiring things, in a transfer of wealth coming into the hands of believers. Now, this is Shane Warren saying this, but what I'm about to read from Benjamin Fulford is going to be backing that up. He said he saw churches become cities of refuge. The body of Christ stood up like a mighty sleeping giant in the earth and began to minister. People were coming to them, signs, wonders, miracles poured out all over America. I saw America being shaken. As the worldly couldn't go to the government for help anymore, they had to return to the church. Entire cities became cities of refuge. All right, now let's jump down to what Sklar said. Maurice Sklar said that the Lord told him the American dollar is going to lose 30% more of its present value. This will be the second drop since the previous 2008 drop of 20%. The dollar will then be worth half what it was before September 2008. This drop will cause great economic stress in our nation. Then Terry Bennett said, he was told by the angel Gabriel, there will be a change in the U.S. currency. A different currency is going to come, at least one. That will entail us no longer being the reserve currency of the world. I saw in the governmental arena we will go through a dramatic change in our government, and there will be a time of anarchy and chaos. For a while, we'll have a fractional government, which means basically our government will come down to the state level because the military is having to step in and has to seize, listen carefully, seize control of our federal government. You'd call it a coup, but in all honesty, it will be to help our nation. This is why the military will step in. He said, I believe that we're now on the verge of these things happening. He says, I saw lawlessness, chaos, and civil unrest coming. Now, could it be that these 120,000 plus sealed indictments are about to be served? Could it be that that is the start of the internal revolution? Remember, Dmitri was told the fall of America will start with an internal revolution, started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government will be busy with internal problems. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and 2 of the countries will attack and defeat America in 1 day and 1 hour, so great riches will come to naught. Could it be that the 120,000 people is the start of what makes people angry enough to start fighting against the government? Okay, let's go to Benjamin Fulford. Again, September 23rd, 2019, headline, many signs point to imminent, bigger than Lehman financial tsunami. He says, veteran financial market observers will tell you that anomalies in the financial markets last week point to some sort of black swan event. Now, I looked up to give you the very best wording on what a black swan is. The black swan theory, or theory of black swan events, is a metaphor that describes an event that comes as a surprise. In other words, this financial market thing that he says is about to hit will hit as a surprise. Let's go on. He says this could be, cross your fingers, and knock on wood, the signs of the long-awaited implosion of the U.S. corporate government. Now, that's the all-capital United States of America, as in that corporation. Some people are saying that it has been bankrupt for a long time. Again, none of this comes from me. This comes from other sources. I'm just reporting what others say here. Anyway, he says it could also be the signal for a new Bretton Woods-style reboot of the world's financial system. All right, so I looked that up, wanted to be able to bring you accurate information. And it says the 1944 Bretton Woods Agreement established listen carefully, a new global monetary system. I'll read it again. A new global monetary system. What's he saying? He's saying that a new global monetary system is about to come in place. I didn't say that. He said that. It goes on to say it replaced the gold standard with the U.S. dollar as the global currency. After the agreement was signed, America was the only country with the ability to print dollars. The agreement created the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. Now, that's the definition of Bretton Woods. Now, let's go back to what he's saying. Let me reread that last sentence. It could also be the signal for a new Bretton Woods-style reboot of the world's financial system. To understand, take a look at these two graphs, which obviously on radio we can't, but I think we get the point. So I'm going to go on to the next paragraph. The repo market is basically a market where banks, etc., use long-term, high-quality financial instruments like U.S. government bonds as collateral to borrow here and now cash. The second is the rate at which banks lend to each other. The jump from 2% to 10% in the repo market in a single day, apparently this past week, either means insiders think U.S. bonds are about to become worthless, or else some huge bank is about to go bust, and so nobody wants to hand any cash over to them. Now, what's he saying? He's saying that there's some real big reasons why a giant financial change, as I've been talking about for a while, is coming. Let's go on. The second SOFR, and that's what he's talking about here, the Secured Overnight Financing Rate, moved 282 basis points. In a market where people typically freak out over a move of just 20 basis points, the SOFR move, at the very least, indicates that a mega bank or several mega banks could not get money from other banks. This sort of move was seen at the last time of the Lehman stock problem. The privately owned Fed has been trying to calm things down by offering to dish out $75 billion per day between now and October 10th. He says that's interesting timing because the U.S. corporate government has a payment deadline on September 30th and would be given until around October the 10th, or at the very latest 17th, to come up with the money if it failed to pay up on September 30th. He says a British royal family member explained, quote, the financial industry has been bankrupted by a decision by the United States judiciary to allow class action lawsuits against them. The volatility is just an aftershock of that, he explains. The links below show that many banks, including J.P. Morgan, Deutsche Bank, Barclays, Bank of New York, Mellon, this can make sense here in just a second, stick with me, okay? Societe Generale, Commerce Bank, and others are now being treated as organized crime gangs. Did you hear that? Did you hear he's saying that large banks, J.P. Morgan, Deutsche Bank, Barclays, Bank of New York, are being treated as organized crime gangs and being hit with RICO and other anti-gang laws? isn't that what we were told? Didn't Terry Bennett tell us that there would be a coup in the government? It would be good. The military have to take over the federal government. And we've been following the fact that there is now I can't even get the latest figures, there's over 120,000 sealed indictments out there, meaning there's 120,000 Bill and Hillary Clinton types that are about to be arrested. And I know a lot of people thinking, oh, well, it's going to be congressmen and people like that. It's probably going to be international bankers more than anything else, because that's what's happening. There's a big financial change, so they say, coming on the horizon. Let's go on. Needless to say, these criminal cases will lead to bank-busting lawsuits by the victims of these financial misdeeds. In other words, what he's saying is there is a financial change coming like the world has never seen. And what the prophecies say is this one is going to benefit the church. That's why, look, I didn't say it. It's not me saying this. This is what the prophecies say. I'm just the reporter. I'm just the delivery boy here. Let's go on. These legal moves are not only the sign the financial system is collapsing. A look at U.S. loan markets reveals that a complete disaster has already begun. There are now 3,128, listen to this, trillion dollars worth of high-risk loans or bonds to either subprime real estate or IFI corporations. In other words, the giant financial bubble. We've heard about it for years. It really is about to bust. And a whole new system, so the prophets say, is about to be put in place. Now, let's go on. That's almost double the amount seen just before the Lehman shock. Also, U.S. private sector financial assets are now 5.6 times the U.S. GDP, meaning they would all have to fall close to 80% to be equal to GDP. What does that mean? He goes on to say, remember, this does not include the over $200 trillion, that's 10 times GDP, in unfunded liabilities in the U.S. government has. Yeah, I know there's a lot of number stuff, and frankly, I don't understand a lot of it either, but I do know what the prophecies say. And the prophecies say, brothers and sisters, there's about to be a whole new financial change. Of course, we understand kind of where it's going. Let me finish reading a little bit more of this, and we're going to tie this to prophecy. One more shocker. The U.S. government-owned housing finance companies, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, have a total of $6 billion, parentheses, $3 billion each, as a capital buffer, but own or guarantee almost $5 trillion in mortgage securities, which means they are leveraged over 1,000 to 1. In other words, if housing prices fall even 0.01%, in other words, almost nothing, they're going to go bust. And guess what, folks? These are signs housing prices have in fact started falling. I'm going to skip down several paragraphs to what we think is interesting as it relates to Bible prophecy. So Benjamin Fulford goes on to say, this comes from a source at the MJ level, and I consider it completely accurate. And I'm not going to comment on what I think the MJ is, but apparently it's pretty high. For Hillary to be prosecuted, the whole CIA would have to be dethroned, and a whole fake national security system, parenthesis, which was set up to provide cover for crimes used for raising black ops money, covert for many covert ops and sanctions, as well as personal enrichment of the top controllers, parenthesis, would have to be declared criminal and then restricted by about 95%. Well, we know that's about to happen. Now, let's go on here. The Clintons, he spells it with a K, the Clintons were CIA. Their case officer, GHWB, Hillary conceived in a, quote, eyes wide shut occult breeding ceremony, supposedly by a top Rothschilds, and Bill, the illegitimate son of Nelson Rockefeller, conceived of the same way, thus their great power. Now, let me give you a disclaimer. I do not know that necessarily this part of it is true, but I do think that there's evil, unbelievable evil going on in high places. We've already talked about how the Khazarian mafia used child sacrifice and sex trafficking as their way to get power with Lucifer. It's crazy, but we Christians, we don't even understand that. It sounds like tinfoil hat stuff to us, but anyway, let's go on here. He makes some good points. The CIA filed national security waivers to the U.S. DOJ so that all evidence against Hillary and Bill and the Clinton Foundation was protected under national security, and it could not be used to prosecute anyone. Hillary's emails were a covert op against the Chinese, giving up emails and agents' names, parenthesis, willing to get rid of them, in order to gain trust and to seed some incorrect misinformation to mislead the Chinese. Hillary was playing a double agent role to deceive the Chinese while helping them build them up, to later be parasitized by the City of London private banksters. Again, I don't know that that's true, but probably those kind of evil things actually happen. Let's go on, though. Right now, there's an internecine war among the different groups at the top. Trump was drafted by the USN admirals. Question mark. In other words, he's not certain exactly what group is behind Trump, but apparently they are a lot of good guys. Let's go on. Hillary represents the satanic pedophile network and is a satanic Moloch witch of a coven in California, where she usually attends monthly occult ceremonies. Again, I do not know that this is correct. This is him saying it, but we will read on and see if he can make a point, because I think he does. Let's go on. The Pizzagate stories are all true and are connected to Epstein and NXIVM, I don't know what that is, and many more human compromised child sex trafficking and child sacrifice occult system worldwide. Stan, why are you reading this? I'm reading this because if we want to understand evil at the very top, if we want to understand 120,000 people all arrested in a short period of time, put into military tribunals, and many of them executed, we have to understand child sacrifice and how these crazy, evil people think that that is how Lucifer gives them their power. I mean, think about it. What is the very worst sin? Well, killing the innocent, okay? And what would be the most innocent of the most innocent? The younger, the better. Okay, so you can understand, without even too much figuring out here, why child sacrifice is very important to them, because it shows their God, Lucifer, just how much they love him and they believe in him and his laws, which are exactly opposite of God's laws. Let's go on. The Bush Sheriff, and that's SCHERF, cabal is part of the Nazi Fourth Reich, parenthesis, worshippers of the Black Sun. And I wouldn't even read this except for I've been around this stuff a long time, and we've had a lot. I mean, just go, well, like we were talking about last week. I played a whole bunch of stuff from Bill Sneblin. A lot of this is actually confirmed by them. So I'm not saying everything he's saying is accurate, but I'm saying go and do your own research. So let's go on. Worshippers of the Black Sun and run by the COL Zios, related to the various occult circles from the days of John Dee and Aleister Crowley, which merged British intel with entities from the dark side. The reason child sex trafficking and sacrifice is so important to these criminals because they must use this to compromise and control all major officials and corporate heads while feeding the negative life force energy needs of Baal and Moloch in order to suitably empower or to run the world and stay very wealthy. Some are addicted to the victim's blood and hormones. I understand. I know this sounds sick. But if you want to understand world government, if you want to understand what Lucifer is trying to do with the mark of the beast, then you have to understand evil at the very top, or should we say the very bottom. And that's what he's talking about. I've heard this from a lot of very reputable people. While I can't prove what I just said there, probably true. Let's go on. I believe this whole Z cabal bunch will be pushed aside by the Chabad, Chabad, using the Sanhedrin rabbis. I don't even want to go into that. Okay. Now let me jump to the final sentence in this whole article. He says the U.S. military, listen to that carefully, the U.S. military needs to arrest the 120,000 people named in sealed indictments ASAP and take them to the FEMA camps they built for us. So he is now saying just what I said was going on, almost 2 years ago. I think that I may have been one of the first ones that revealed the whole arrest syndrome where the Marines are going to arrest these. Well, it started off with 4,000 people. Now it's up to over 120,000 sealed indictments, and put them into military tribunals. You remember a couple of weeks ago, I read this entire article, but I'm going to just jump to a couple of things here because it confirms what we've been talking about. The title of the article, and by the way, it comes to us from finalwakeupcall.info. Headline is QFS, Off-World Monetary System. And it says it's the introduction of a quantum financial system and global currency reset. I'm going to skip down. It says this new quantum financial system runs on a quantum computer based on an orbiting satellite system and is protected by secret space programs to ensure that it cannot be hacked. The quantum technology, oh, listen to this, was provided by benevolent extraterrestrial galactics. What? What is that? The quantum technology was provided by benevolent, okay, that's supposed to be the good guys, okay. Extraterrestrial, that means it's something off of this world. Galactics, that also says it's not this world. Okay, so if it's not from this world, who's it from? Is it from God? Does God give us computer programs? No, it doesn't. No, he doesn't. I should say it that way. Okay, so who's it from? Well, it's probably, in my opinion, probably from demons. Would it be just a real smart move for the beast to come in and give us a whole new wonderful system that, of course, in a few years he can just sweep in and take over since he was the one that set it up? Does that make sense? Well, that's what I suspect. Can't prove it. That's what I suspect. Let me jump down several paragraphs. It says, with the activation of the QFS, the Galactic Alliance, sounds like something out of Star Wars, doesn't it? Doesn't sound like it was humans. Will completely destroy the central banking system that has been designed to destroy the world economy and to put the world population into perpetual debt slavery. Okay, that sounds good, doesn't it? The good guys wearing the white hats are going to ride in on white horses and they're going to fix our financial system. Not. Let me go on. The little known truth is the QFS has been running parallel to the central banking system for many months, if not more than a year, and has countered many hacking attempts to steal funds by the cabal. That's the evil guys. The result being that many bankers have been caught red-handed with illegal money transfers and consequently arrested. Let's start at verse 16. Revelation 13:16. And he, that's the beast, causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell. Isn't that what we just said here? A system that can't be broken, a system that you got to have a way to access securely or you can't get into it, that no man might buy or sell save he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here's wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, as in the beast, as in the Antichrist, and his number is 666. Does it make sense to you that the beast comes along, gives us a new technology to defeat evil? Isn't that what the devil always does, is defeat evil? Oh, come on. We're not stupid. We understand what he's doing. He's setting up a new financial system, but we'd love to have some help winning souls. Amen. Let me end by saying I want to anoint you with oil. I want you to receive the same spirit, the spirit of revelation that I received when I memorized the book of Revelation. It's October 4, 5, and 6, Understanding End Times Conference. It's at the Living Word Fellowship. You reserve your spot by going to endtimeconference.com, endtimesconference.com, endtimeconference.com, endtimesconference.com, whatever. We got them all, okay? Go there and get registered, because this weekend is the big weekend, October 4, 5, and 6 in Evansville, Indiana. Friday evening, 6:30, I'll be speaking on the 7 seals. Saturday morning, 10 a.m., I'll be speaking on the feasts and revelation prophecies. Saturday evening, Leslie will be speaking on the Kundalini Spirit. Sunday morning, I will be speaking on my new book, Miss the Mark. And Leslie will be talking on binding and loosing. A very powerful weekend, October 4, 5, and 6. Go to endtimeconference.com and get registered. A couple of years ago, I began to memorize Revelation. Frankly, I didn't even think I'd be able to really memorize the whole thing. I didn't even start at verse 1. I started at verse 8 because the first 7 verses looked too complicated to memorize. But what happened was, as I started memorizing it, I started getting revelations. We're talking about information from the throne of God. Matter of fact, I got 30 revelations and 2 visions and 1 audible voice. The audible voice, I'll go ahead and tell you what that said. The 7 seals play over 7 years. The 7 trumpets play over 7 months. The 7 vials play over 7 days. Unquote. I heard an audible voice tell me that. Now, of course, I had it backed up with Scripture, and I do explain that in the book. But what I was shown is a single word found in Leviticus links through time to the same single word in the book of Revelation. And that single word is first fruits. When you understand that word, all of a sudden the 7 feasts given to Moses are actually a pattern that plays out the last 7 months of the world, starting with first fruits and ending and concluding with tabernacles. Those 7 feasts are a pattern. They portray the way the prophecies of Revelation lay out for the first time. And so far, no one has been able to defeat me on this. I don't think anybody on planet Earth has been given the information in this book. Now, I'm not saying I'm something special. I'm saying it's the last days. I'm saying that God has given this extra information to the world because we are in the last days. Because the tribulation, 7 years, is about to start. The beast is about to be released into the world. And brothers and sisters, you had better start knowing Bible prophecy. I'm called of God to teach Bible prophecy. You read my book, and I don't think you'll have a question about that. And I don't think you know anything that is in my book. I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm just trying to tell you, you get this book and you'll be really, really glad you got it. 1 for 20, 5 for 30, 10 for 55. One book for 20, but don't do that. You want to get 5 for 30. That way it gives you 4 books to just give away. Best deal is 10 for 55, and then really kind of a church deal is you get a whole case of them. That's 60 books for a gift of $250. That way, the whole church can just spread them around. You got other books to hand around to other people. 1 for 20, 5 for 30, 10 for 55, 60 for $250. You get it at prophecyclub.com. Prophecyclub.com. The secret door to understand Bible prophecy. 1 for 25 for 30, 10 for 55, case of 60 for a gift of $250. Get the book. October 4, 5, and 6, it's the Understanding End Times Conference, Living Word Fellowship, Evansville, Indiana. Friday evening, 6:30, I'll speak on my 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 vials chart. Saturday morning, 10 a.m., I'll speak on my Feast and Revelation Prophecies chart. Saturday evening, 5 p.m., Leslie will speak on the Kundalini Spirit. Sunday morning at 10 a.m., I'll take half the time with Miss the Mark, my new book, and Leslie will take the rest of it. As you know, I'm called to build an end-time army of prophecy teachers working miracles. I want you to come so I can lay hands on you and anoint you for you to receive 2 anointings. The spirit of revelation as I received it when I memorized the book of Revelation. 2, to work in 7-fold miracles when the judgment arrives. The room only holds 350 people, and the church is probably going to take from 100 to 150 of them, so it will fill quickly. I suggest you do the $25 registration quickly at endtimesconference.com. $25 registration at endtimesconference.com. October 4, 5, and 6, Understanding End Times Conference, Living Word Fellowship, Evansville, Indiana. See you there! You can now watch 160 Prophecy Club recordings and soon over 300 without interruption. Most people would agree 300 titles, normally $30 each. A gift of $100 a month would be reasonable. $50 a pretty good deal, but the introductory rate for a limited time is just $20 recurring monthly subscription. A 1-year subscription is a gift of $200. There's no contract. You can cancel anytime you want to, and you get the first 3 days free just to check it out. The best deal is a yearly subscription that'll lock in your rate for a year even when we raise the rates. Watch prophecyclub.com. Go check it out. Watch prophecyclub.com.
In many different ways, the enemy is working overtime to destroy your family, job, and America. Your faithful monthly gifts help the Prophecy Club to continue and overcome evil with the truth. Help us take the warning to America. Engage in the battle to win lost souls to Christ by supporting this ministry today.